Hello, and welcome to our fourth of 6 information sessions on the topic of industrial hemp for Indigenous businesses. In this information session, we will be talking about the processing of industrial hemp seeds to derive the various end products desired. These information sessions are brought to you by the Indigenous Chamber of Commerce of Ontario in partnership with the Tequah-Tagamu Nation of New Post Reserve. My name is Keith Wilson, and I would like to talk today about industrial hemp seed processing. Previously, we learned about the history of industrial hemp in our first session. In the second session, we learned about the specific agricultural requirements of industrial hemp plants according to the products derived. In our third session, we learned about one of the main hemp plant products, the seeds. In these previous sessions, we learned that the hemp seeds can be transformed into a multitude of potentially profitable products. In this session, our fourth, we will learn the details of the processes required to get specific desired products from the hemp seeds. These are the products we will look at closer: raw seeds, direct from the harvest, and hemp as a powder, and hemp as an oil. And here's why: to narrow down the most feasible value-added product for the TTN Cochrane area. Each product requires a different process to develop the desired end product, but the processes all begin with the plant in the field. The hemp seed journey, from planting to the end product, involves choosing a seed, planting and growing the crop, harvesting the grain, and preparing the harvest for transport to a processing facility. But the first step is the selection and purchasing of the right seeds to suit your location and soil conditions. Various strains have been tested by the Alberta government agencies in the Peace River District, which is at 55 degrees north. For reference, Cochrane, Ontario is at the 49th parallel. In their experience, the Finola strain was identified as having a high yield of grain. It is also the most commonly planted strain in Ontario. The Finola strain blooms according to the biological cycle of the plant and not based on the amount of light received. This means that regardless of the hours of light received, Finola plants will complete their growth cycle in about 100 to 120 days. The Finola seed is available in Ontario and can be purchased from a number of certified industrial hemp seed distributors. However, there are many other different strains that have their own specialty genetics, such as being more frost-resistant, more drought-resistant, or more pest-resistant. What about planting? Well, industrial hemp should be planted about 5 feet apart from each other on centers, leaving at least a foot or two between rows for accessibility. It is important to space your hemp plants properly because giving them adequate space to grow is crucial to healthy crop production for several reasons. When they have enough space to grow, it will be much easier for them to absorb and metabolize nutrients, and it allows the plants to spread out and take up more horizontal space. Proper hemp plant spacing helps maintain crop manageability. This means that plants are easier to inspect, weeds are easier to remove, and harvest is made easier when farmers have ample space to move between the plants. This is important to note because correct hemp plant spacing helps to control and avoid infestation and disease, while producing a more plentiful yield of hemp seeds. Like any plants, hemp will thrive when fertilized according to their needs. The nutrients required are usually the same as any other grain crop. The hemp plants are drought tolerant, but do require sufficient rainfall to ensure a bountiful crop. They require about 20 to 30 inches of rainfall during the growing period, and irrigation may be necessary if precipitation is less than adequate. As with all agriculture, soil conditions are a factor, in that the plants will require twice as much water in light soil than in medium soil. They will require occasional weeding, which is facilitated by the plants being spaced wide apart from each other. Harvesting normally takes place late in the season to allow for the production of as many seeds as possible. As we've learned in earlier seasons, harvesting hemp plants for a grain yield is different than harvesting for a fiber yield. As with any grain crop, a standard combine harvester is used. The combine cleans and reclaims the seeds and discards the waste back onto the field. Harvesting for seeds requires the combine cutter head to be set at its highest elevation to harvest the plant tops only. The plant stalks, leaves, and flowers could then be plowed back into the field, thereby reintroducing nutrients to the soil. If the plant stalks are to be harvested for their fiber, then a second cut at ground level will be required. This second cut could be made with the combine's cutter head at a lower position, or a sickle side mower could also be used. If there is the intention of reclaiming the fiber from the stalks, then they are usually left in the field for a period of time for the retting process. This fiber process will be covered in Section 6. Care must be taken when harvesting hemp, as the plant fibers are exceedingly strong and will tend to wind up in the mechanism. Cutters must be kept sharp, otherwise the rotating combine machinery will need to be continually cleared out. Normally, a seed processing facility will store the seeds and prepare them for shipping to the processing plant. This seed facility involves storage bins and silos, conveyors, weigh scales, trucks, and loaders. The storage methods will be different depending on the farm and the equipment available to that farm. When selecting storage bins for hemp, priority should be based on cleanliness, ease of handling, and environmental conditioning. The two best choices for this are hopper bins with aeration and flat metal bins with aeration flooring. Hemp seeds must be properly dried, stored, and monitored to preserve the quality of the grain. If the seeds become overheated, or if high humidity promotes mold growth, they will be rejected for food use. The seeds are then taken to a facility for further cleaning and processing into the desired end products. The facility to process the seeds will also have to be a clean environment, separate from any fiber processing or storage, to minimize contamination. These facilities are specific to the end product, whether it be food, pharmaceutical, cosmetic, or other uses. These facilities are responsible for processing, packaging, and marketing the end products. The industrial hemp seeds can be sold to grocers and health food corporations, but can also be sold to other companies that will further transform your harvest. A typical facility producing hemp powder will contain a series of grinders to produce various grades of powders. The fineness of the powder will determine how many stages of grinding is required. This grinding process can be done by a separate factory that can provide the appropriate grade for the desired end product, whether it be for cosmetics, pharmacy, or food, such as protein powder. To produce these different end products, specific equipment, machinery, and expertise will be required. It is important to note here that government rules and health regulations require most, if not all, of these products to be of food-grade quality. This sets the standards for the cleanliness and maintenance of the processing and transportation equipment. These standards will also apply to the other main product derived from hemp seeds, which is hemp oil, which we will talk about next. Let's look into more detail about extracting hemp oil from the seeds. Again, cleanliness of the facility is of the highest importance. One of the best and proven methods used to extract the oil from the raw hemp seeds is by cold pressing. This method is in wide usage for olives, canola, and other seed oil products. The seed is loaded into hoppers that empty into a machine with many cold expeller press heads. These heads extract the oil by extruding the seed into long chunks and then separating the oil in a corkscrew-type process. This process generates heat from the friction involved. The highest temperature that occurs when the seed is being pressed for oil is 40 degrees Celsius. The oil is exposed to those temperatures for just a few seconds before it quickly cools as it is expelled through the oil drain holes in the press cylinder. By this point, the oil has already cooled to 32 degrees Celsius or less. Once the oil enters the holding reservoir, it has cooled to below 20 degrees Celsius. This process is considered cold pressed because cold pressing is described as using an extrusion process to extract oil from vegetable seeds at temperatures of less than 50 degrees Celsius. The waste seed husks left over after pressing still have value by grinding them into a powder, for example. Further filtration will be required to clean the hemp seed oil after pressing. Once filtered, the hemp oil is ready for packaging and shipping. Material handling equipment such as conveyors, hoppers, vats, pumps, and filters will all be sized according to the facility capacity or input. Weighing, measuring, bottling, packaging, and labeling equipment will also be required and sized to suit the facility output and sales. Inventory can be stored in bulk tanks or in final packaging, ready for shipping to customers. Personnel with varied experience will be required to manage, operate, and maintain such a facility. Thank you so much for joining me today for our talk on hemp seed processing, our fourth of 6 information sessions. Hopefully, you've learned a little bit more about the processing of hemp seeds to derive various end products desired. These information sessions are brought to you by the team at ICCO in partnership with the Tequah-Tagamu Nation. My name is Keith Wilson. Thanks again for joining, and stay tuned for the 5th session, which will be about industrial hemp fiber.